So I haven't made a video in a while, like years. It's been a couple of years. I kind of just got tired of it and I had other things to do. I've been focusing more on my career and things of that nature. So yeah, I've I've been leaving the atheism stuff alone. But I came across a video today and it's not a new video. It's from a couple of years ago. But it's called 78 Questions for Christians. And it was so ridiculous. It had to, so to speak, bring me out of retirement. I could not go without answering it. Not because the it was compelling or anything like that, but it was just so hilarious to me. So I'm not gonna waste any time. I'm just gonna get into it and start answering these questions.
Is Anne Frank burning in hell right now?
How should I know?
How about Mahatma Gandhi?
How should I know?
Is Fred Phelps in heaven because he believed in the divinity of Jesus?
How should I know? But probably not.
Should a killer who genuinely repents be able to go to heaven?
Yes.
Should a kind-hearted atheist be forced to go burn in hell for all of eternity?
You mean if you reject salvation and you're still a cool guy, should you get salvation anyway? Well, no, you rejected it.
What about any non-Christian good person? Should they be burning in hell?
I don't know how you're defining good person here, but Christians don't claim to know people's hearts. That's why we leave the judging to God.
Would you be happy in heaven if someone you loved was in hell?
Yes,
If your son or daughter were dying, and I hope that never happens, would you just pray for them or would you take them to a doctor?
both.
And if you say you would do both, which one do you think has more of an impact?
I'm not sure how you measure the prayer to doctor ratio. It really seems like something you take on a case by case basis.
Whose prayers does God answer?
Everyone!
And if it's ultimately God's will, what happens? Why even bother praying?
I don't want to do a full doctrine on prayer here, but to oversimplify it, we do it because it's a part of how we relate to God.
If you have cancer right now, what's going to help you more? Drugs or prayer?
See, answer to number 9.
Let's say you had an amputated limb. Would prayer ever bring it back?
No,
If you've heard stories about an amputated limb ever growing back, how come there's never a camera around when anything like that happens?
I've never heard a story like that, but I think the likelihood of a camera there depends on the likelihood of a miraculous event happening at any given time, which is, of course, infinitesimal.
How come there are no cameras around when any miracles happen?
See the previous answer.
If you had an exam coming up, what do you think would help you earn a higher score? Prayer or studying for the test?
Studying. Prayer isn't magic, that's just something atheists say.
If you prayed for me over YouTube right now, do you think I would know it somehow?
What do you think prayer is?
What matters to God more? The quantity of prayers or the quality of the prayers?
How do you measure the quality of a prayer?
If it's the quantity that matters, how come the most popular team doesn't always win the Super Bowl?
Because the number of people praying for something doesn't matter?
And if it's the quality that matters, how come people we really love, people who are close to us, how come they died no matter what we say to God?
See answer to number 18.
Is it possible that your prayers have no supernatural effect and only serve to make you feel better?
It's possible.
And if that were true, would you ever admit it?
I just did.
Is there anything in your life right now that makes you doubt God's existence?
Not very often anymore, and abandoning my belief in God would require me to ignore a lot of logic.
If you did doubt God's existence, how would your life change?
I certainly wouldn't be doing this.
Was Jesus white?
No,
Why does it seem God is more likely to help someone who's a talented athlete over a starving child overseas?
I don't think it is more likely. It doesn't even seem more likely to me. That's a matter of perspective.
Why does God seem to hate Africa?
I think a lot of Africans would take exception to you categorizing their entire continent as some sort of godforsaken wasteland. There's suffering all over the world, and the problem of evil has been asked and answered many times.
If a group of people from, say, Africa came to your community with the intent to convert you to their tribal faith, would you listen to them and take them seriously?
Oh yeah, why not?
Does God speak to you personally?
Not out loud, but the proverbial still small voice has crept in from time to time, usually when I want to do something morally questionable.
If God spoke to you and told you to kill your child, would you do it?
No, but probably because I wouldn't believe it was God.
If God told you to kill me, would you do it?
In a heartbeat. No, I'm just kidding.
Is God always watching over you?
Yes.
How about when you're on the toilet?
Yes.
What do you say to Muslims who believe the Quran is the holy book?
I tell them they're wrong.
Are they wrong?
I believe so.
Have you read the Quran?
Not in its entirety, just enough to get a grasp of Muslim doctrine.
And why do you so easily dismiss their holy book?
I don't easily dismiss anything, but there are things that I don't find theologically sound about it.
And then why do you get upset at atheists who dismiss yours?
I don't get upset. I love this stuff.
Is acting on one's homosexuality a sin?
Yes.
Is homosexuality itself a sin?
No.
Do you believe gays and lesbians should have the right to get legally married?
My thoughts on marriage are a little more complicated than that, but for the sake of brevity, I'm going to say yes.
Would your church ever marry a gay or lesbian couple?
No.
If not, and you believe that they should have the right to marry, why do you remain in that church?
Because I don't believe Christians should be forced to marry gay couples. That's what the state is for.
Why would God create people who are gay and then punish them for being gay?
You can literally say that about any sin, and the answer is God didn't create sin.
If God is already sending gay people who act on their homosexuality to hell, why do so many Christians feel the need to persecute them here on earth?
Because people suck. Moving on.
Why is God playing hide and seek with all of humanity?
God's existence is pretty obvious to me and a lot of other people. Once again, that's a matter of perspective.
Do you believe Jesus is coming back to earth during your lifetime?
No.
If you do, what do you say to all those people who have been saying the same thing for centuries and who are no longer with us?
Nothing, because they're dead.
Why is the story of Jesus' birth and life so similar to that of mythological beings who lived before his time?
It isn't, and those comparisons have been debunked left and right.
How do you decide which sections of the Bible are literally true and which ones are just metaphorical?
Genre and context, the same way when reading anything else.
What are the minimum requirements for being a Christian?
It starts with Romans 10 and 9, and you pretty much work your way up from there.
And who falls under that definition?
Everybody who does that.
Fred Phelps?
Maybe.
Pat Robertson?
Maybe.
James Dobson?
Maybe.
President Obama?
Maybe.
Do you really believe Mary was impregnated without ever having sex?
Yes.
If someone came up to you and said she was pregnant, but she was totally a virgin, would you believe her?
No.
Why did God have to rape a teenage girl in order to become human?
Why don't you know what rape is?
If you could go back in time to when Jesus was being crucified, would you try to save him?
No.
Or would you stand back and do nothing since your entire faith depends on him being crucified?
It depends on his resurrection, and I wouldn't be doing it to save my religion.
What would it take to change your mind about God's existence?
An irrefutable argument against it. So far, no one has come close.
Do you think it's a little strange when someone says they're going to believe in something no matter what, even when all the evidence seems to point in the other direction?
Yes, that's why I don't understand atheism.
What is something your pastor has said in church that you totally disagree with?
I'm not saying exactly what it was, but he taught a whole lesson on something I didn't agree with.
And when that happened, did you confront your pastor about it, or did you just let it slide?
Yes, it was during a Bible study, so there was a church-wide discussion, one of the benefits of belonging to a small church.
Why are there so many Christian denominations?
Because different denominations serve different communities. I don't think I learned much from the Chinese church near my house because I don't speak Mandarin.
And are the people who are in those different denominations bad Christians? Are they wrong?
Not necessarily.
Which denomination is right?
Right about what?
Or which group of denominations is right?
Right about what?
Who or what do you think is responsible for natural disasters like earthquakes or tsunamis?
Nature.
Can you pause the video right now and tell me what the 10 Commandments are?
Yeah, but this is the internet, so you'd have no way of knowing I didn't just look them up.
And if you know them, and good for you if you do, why do so many Christians believe that the first 4 of them belong on government property and in the classrooms?
You'd have to ask them.
Would you feel comfortable saying the Pledge of Allegiance in class every day if the words were one nation under no God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all?
No.
Do you think it's just a coincidence that different religions are popular in different parts of the world?
No, there are obvious anthropological reasons for that.
Do you believe that if you were born in Saudi Arabia, you would be a Muslim rather than a Christian?
Probably, but that wouldn't make me right.
Is it possible that religion has less to do with what's true and more to do with the circumstances of where and when you were born?
Possible, not likely.
Do you believe childbirth is an example of a miracle?
No.
Does that mean Hitler was once a miracle baby?
Oh my god, this is stupid.
And if childbirth is a miracle,
It's not. We're done here. There you go. 78 ridiculous questions answered.